All right, today I'm gonna tie on a few blanks. My goal is to tie on 4. So I'm first gonna shape this cane, but I truly consider the blank to be the most important, crucial stage of the reed making process. And if you rush the blank tying stage, you're really not setting yourself up for the best reed you can make. In fact, if you have a blank that is just not very good or it's just subpar, your reed really might not play very well at all. A big part of that is in how it's shaped, first of all, which is what we're doing now. Also in the overlap and just how you tie it on and how precise you are with your measurements. So there's a lot to look for. And sometimes I just think we rush through it and we don't do that. So you can tell I'm shaping this piece of cane now. I'm just lining it up to make sure it's even, which it is. So I'm going to tighten it. And for me, I always shape my cane and then I tie the reed on, but you don't have to do that. You can just work with shaped cane that's dried, soak the cane up, and then you're ready to go. But this is just what I do. It doesn't make a bit of difference. I just find I don't have a lot of noticeable differences if I let my cane dry out at this stage before tying it on. So I just do it all together. So I'm just gonna scrape a little bit off the edge and then a little bit more. Okay, now this next step is, I think, the most important one. So you want your fold to be nice and crisp. You don't want any holes there that can form. So you'll kind of look, so this one looks pretty good. But we're gonna set our overlap. And the overlap is the most crucial part because it can either be overlapped too much, like for dramatic effect, this would be overlapped too much. You want the back blade facing to the right if you're left-handed. I'm right-handed, but I actually tie left-handed, so just in case you're wondering that. But you want the blades, whichever way you're overlapping it, to be very consistent, and you want it to be just a slight overlap. You don't want a big gap because you don't want your blades to slip. So I like to use my fingers to line everything up first, and then I pinch towards the bottom, and then I get my mandrel, and that's when I will measure. I tie my blanks on at 74. I'm using a Luray staple. If you use a thicker staple, one that's wider, you might have to tie at 73. But I like to tie mine long because I like a narrower throat down here. Okay, so I've measured it out, and notice it's opened up, the overlap has splayed a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do is transfer to my right hand, and then I'll reset the overlap again. So I'm constantly making sure the overlap is reset. All right, so at this point, you want to check your overlap again. Just kind of eyeball it on both sides. And what I like to do is, instead of just starting the thread right where it's gonna be at the end, which is a tie below the top of the staple, I actually like to start it pretty close to the top. And what that'll do is I'm able to pull a little bit and see if it actually does seal, first of all, if the edges come together, and then if the overlap has maintained. So I'm constantly looking at both sides, then pull a little bit and look at both sides. And this one looks pretty good. You'll notice I just work my way down. I'm not pulling all the way tight yet because I'm not where I want it to end up quite yet. So I'm gonna wait till I get closer. Okay, so now I want this top loop to be one tie below the top of the staple. And I'll just look at this other side. I spend a lot of time here, so don't rush this step. This is so important. You want that first loop to be right underneath the top. So you want one tie free, because that second tie that we'll do right now, we're gonna go over the first. And that'll bring us up to 47 because I'm using a 47 millimeter staple. And I like to loosen it up here and then check and make sure I'm not over tied, because if you're over tied, then you're not going to have a good reed, and I would start over. Over tying will squeeze the throat of the reed down in a bad way and kind of cancel out a lot of those vibrations that we want. I also like to look down my mandrel to see if it's straight, and this one's a little crooked. Notice I'm doing all of this only having done 2 ties. Sorry, it's shaking a little bit. All right. So once I'm happy with it, then I'll do my 3rd tie where I go behind. All right, take a look. But yeah, the most important thing is just making sure the overlap is right and it seals. So I'll do a few more winds, and then another step that is skipped a lot is before you tie it all the way down, you need to make sure it seals. So I'll just check that really fast. You can check it a few ways. I like to see if it sticks to my lip. And I have other videos talking about how to do that, so I just quickly did it. And then go ahead and wind the rest of the way down. Yeah, so definitely make sure you're checking those things, because you will thank yourself later. If you have a leaky reed or a reed that's crooked or one that's over tied, it's not going to be a reed. Or if it does end up making sounds, it won't be the ones you want. So go ahead, just take the time, extra care during your blank tying. And at this phase, I like to shave my ears off and then scrape a little off the tip and then let it dry. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know below. And if you're curious what to do after this stage, you can check out my rough scrape guide below, and I can email that to you. It's just a step-by-step, the order in which I scrape, and there's photos and just different things telling you what it should feel like and what it should look like at each stage. So if you have any questions, let me know. Bye, guys.